Good morning. We are extremely pleased that you are here. It is good to come together for the purpose of co-creating. Do you agree? Yes. Co-creation at its best, really. So here you are. Were you dragged here, kicking and screaming? What did you come for? Why are you here? That's a good thing to acknowledge. What brings you here? To come for some clarity, some contribution, some alignment, some practicing of your core vibration, a sort of renewal in that sense, having active thoughts about who you really are, so that that intention that you were born into this body with becomes more dominant, just to remind you of who you are and why you're here. To discuss the laws of the universe, a sort of brusher-upper course of the powerful law of attraction and how it doesn't deviate and how it will not bend or be different for you. You're not going to be an exception to that. So there's a sort of realization that there are momentums of energies that equal a path that unfolds toward wholeness and goodness and good feelings and progress and fun and wellness, and that this path really is the path of least resistance, and it's the path you always want to be on. And sometimes you're on it consciously, and sometimes you're on it by default. Someone who's on it has influenced you to be on it too. In other words, somebody's feeling frisky and good and you're watching them and you're feeling frisky and good, so you're on your frisky and good path of least resistance. So sometimes you're on the path because of influence of others. We like it best when you're on the path because you have figured out what it feels like when you're on it, and you have figured out what it feels like when you're not on it, and you prefer to be on it, so you practice the thoughts that put you on it. And we really like it most of all when you don't ask someone else to be responsible for whether you're on the path or not. And that's what is a little bit tricky, because if someone has influenced you to be on the path and you like to be on the path, and now that influence isn't there, so you're not on the path, there's a tendency to want to hold them responsible for you not feeling good now, where you could feel appreciation that they showed you what it feels like to be on the path. But when you make anybody else, we're talking about humans, responsible for you feeling good, then you have a lot of trouble, because humans, we love you so much. Humans, did we tell you how much we love you? Humans are, we love them. We love all humans so much. Humans are fickle creatures who often are focused and therefore feeling, rather than feeling and therefore focused. You want the world to behave in a perfect way so that you can feel good, and it just won't. So there are so many things that you might be wanting to control as an individual, as a parent, as an employer, as a person. And we get why. Because you want so much to feel good, and sometimes circumstances are the reason that you do feel good. You become circumstantially programmed, sort of conditionally programmed. You live and love conditionally. If you be lovable, I be lover. If you be not lovable, I be not lover. I might even be hater. And when I, as a human, give you the power to control the way I feel, then I really don't like you. And then I really become obnoxious. And I pull out all the stops to try to control you, which never work, which just make me meaner and madder and bigger and more self-destructive. And that's the thing that we really want you to walk away from here really remembering today, is that you're in charge of you and nobody else is, and nobody else can offer your vibration, and therefore nobody else is the reason for the mix of vibration that's going on within you. There are only two reasons that you feel the way you do, and those reasons are the perspective of your inner being and the perspective of you. And when you don't know that, and when you try to include the perspective of other humans who are fickle, we love them so much, and who are not consistent in the way they feel about most things, who don't owe it to you to be consistent about the way they feel about anything, even the way they feel about you. Shocking. You used to love me and I used to be happy, and now you turned your attention from me while you had breakfast and just left me hanging out there with no support. You selfish breakfast eater. If you really loved me, you'd eat before I get up, so that when I get up, you can give me your undivided loving attention. And as long as I've got that, I'm good. And we say, no, you're not, because you're depending upon something that is always undependable. So in the moment you pronounce all other humans undependable to the way you feel, you'll feel so much better. Not at first. It takes you a while to wean yourself from their scanty help. But once you wean yourself from their scanty help, and in the process you realign with where the real help is, which is your inner being's perspective. So that brings us to something that we want to ask. Do you know you're an extension of source energy? And do you know that that source energy is always flowing to you and through you? And do you know that that source energy, we like to call the personal part of that source energy, personal and up close to you, your inner being. Do you know that your inner being is always, always, always aware of you and always loving you, no matter what? So when you feel guilt, it's not because your inner being stopped loving you. It's because you're looking at you differently than your inner being is. We're going to have some fun today. Our desire is that you become more deliberately, more purposefully, more in control by you of your relationship with your own inner being. It's our desire that in these hours that we are together, that you come away with a sense of your ability to focus yourself into alignment, and most of all, your willingness to let all other humans off the hook. Your relationships will improve so much when you feel, when you think and therefore feel and really mean that you're not holding anybody else in their opinion or in their behavior or even in their attention to you responsible for how you feel. That's truly where your freedom comes from. And if you're playing this game of life out in any other way, if you're holding anyone at any time responsible for how you feel, then for that period of time that you're doing that, you are not in control of your own life, of your own point of attraction. You're letting a flawed premise be your reason for offering your vibration.